Hey, great to have you here. So today I want to talk about my first official One Piece tournament victory. One Piece is a card game I've been playing for some time. I've played casuals pretty frequently, started doing tournaments over the last months, I would say, and have not been overly successful with getting the end result that I was looking for with those, with getting ultimately a winner card for that. I've had a few times where I probably got cheated, a few situations where my opponent maybe did some things that weren't necessarily allowed that I felt like, I should have had that one. But either way, I also have gotten really close before where I've been 3-0 going to that final match and lost the final match and then didn't place high enough to get a winner card. So I've been super close a lot of times. I've gone more often than not, I'll probably go 2-2 to 3-1 in my matches. It's just, I guess I don't face high enough people that get me high enough placement. There are times as well where I've gone 1-3 as well. So it's probably between that 1-3 and 3-1 spectrum is where I typically fall in these tournaments, and obviously that's where kind of the median of people fall. But successful today. Want to quickly highlight the matches that I faced and how I did in each of those, and then open up the card ultimately. So starting things off, I was playing with my main man. Zoro has been my leader for quite a while at this point in time. I've always played with him in tournaments other than last tournament. I tried Nami and I felt like I got all of the aggressive players that I would have preferred to play with Zoro. This time I was like, you know what? Let's go back to the bread and butter. Let's play Zoro and see how it goes. The first matchup was against Bonnie. And being honest, I probably would have preferred somebody else first matchup because Bonnie can be difficult with tapping down your characters and then making the attacks a lot less effective. But thankfully in that matchup, I swarmed the board pretty heavily. One issue I did run into at one point where they threw out the 1,000 power kid, where you have to attack him instead of the leader. That's always a problem for my deck specifically because I can't get characters that high. I try to swing a lot of characters for a low amount of power. So that one was a little bit tough to get through. I also didn't get things that were like effective. In the past, I had Cloven Rose in my deck, which is a decrease the opposing character card. That's been helpful. I have my Blocker Chopper out there that would also lower the power. Though I had to face the kid head on and really just put a lot down on a couple guys. Like I think I attacked for 10 at one point. They blocked it. I did again. Ultimately killed the kid. Once that got cleared, it was a little bit easier to get through the board and ultimately beat Bonnie in that first round matchup. From there though, that's when my worst nightmare came. I got the Doflamingo matchup next. So Doflamingo is, if you're not aware, kind of the new big popular leader. We had Starter Deck 17 come out that really brought it to relevance, it feels like, and everyone's running that. Other than Lucci, Doflamingo's kind of the next leader that's the most effective in winning tournaments, it seems. And he is a tough matchup for me, specifically with Zoro. I feel like Doflamingo's pretty much a better Zoro because you're putting a lot of bodies on the board pretty much for limited to no cost. His guys are a little bit stronger, so most of my characters range from that 3 to 5k power, more often than not 3 or 4. And Doflamingo puts characters out that have like 5 or 6,000 power. Specifically, like the Weevil is a 6,000 power, and the Boa, I think, Blocker is a 6,000 power that always give me trouble. That one, I think it worked out. I typically feel like if I face Doflamingo, I need to swing at life because I shouldn't be messing around with these 5,000 to 6,000 power characters because he's just going to re-add them to the board anyway. But I think it worked out this instance. He played like the Boa rested, so I got to kill that one while it was rested before it ultimately became a blocker that became a nuisance. Some other blockers he threw out there. He threw the Doflamingo blocker, the 4,000 power. That one wasn't really an issue. And then from there, I really just went for board, and then immediately after that just went straight for life at that point. One problem that it became a little bit uncertain how it was going to go, he did putting me when I had a lot of cards in my hand, and when I redrew, I didn't have the best cards. Like I had stuff like Kid and Killer in my hand ready to go to try to end the match, and then when I redrew, I didn't have anything like that. Thankfully, when I did redraw from the pudding, I had already a pretty full board, so after that, even though I drew poorly, I pretty much just put Don on the guys I already had on the board and ultimately won with that one. But that one got close. I got down, I think, to 2 life in that matchup. So Doflamingo's always one that I feel like is tough for me, whether it's Nami, whether it's Zoro. It's not one that's easy to fight up against. A lot of people struggle against Doflamingo. After that, I think I got a pretty reasonable matchup. I didn't ever really seen this character played much. I think one other time I played against it, but I played a blue Boa. So doing a lot of things that Doflamingo does when it comes to just drawing cards and putting things out there, but I think a little less effective at widening your board in one fell swoop. So that one was a little bit easier, I think, for my matchup. The only real problem I had was he did the Gravity Blade at one point and bottom decks 2 of my characters, which were pretty important characters at the time. But outside of that, I felt like my matchup was pretty to my advantage. I will say too, for these first 3 matches, I got lucky on who got to go first. I went second in each of the first 3. Normally, I lose all of the dice rolls. I think I did lose the second dice roll, but my opponent, Dofi, picked first. So I got to go second in all three of those first matchups, which is generally my preference. I know Red Zoro, you typically think wants to attack, but I think the cost of my cards, it makes more sense for me to go second because I'm able to use like the just shut up and come with us and still attack with my leader and then still play a 3-cost thing on my second turn. So I feel like second is my preferable option regardless of who I'm playing against. Then my final matchup was the Black Yellow Luffy. So it looked like there was a few of those out there. It seemed like in this tournament specifically, Dofi and Black Yellow Luffy were the more commonly played leaders. And this one was tough. So the third round I faced somebody who was undefeated, and then once again the fourth round, the only other person that was undefeated faced him as Black Yellow Luffy. And it was a little uncertain at times. So if you're not aware, Black Yellow Luffy, his power pretty much boosts his life to being like an additional 2k every time he does it. So he can be at 7, he could be at 9,000. And for my attack style, I like to attack like 5 a bunch of times or 6 a bunch of times. I can't do that when he does that. So he got up to those higher 7s and 9s. He also pulled like, I think 3 different Sabo blockers. They were 6,000 power. He had another blocker out there too. I forgot what it was. Maybe it was like a Rebecca or something, but he had plenty of blocking going on. And I pretty much just kept swinging as much as I could for, I think 6k was pretty much what I tried to swing with early. And he was pulling cards out. And so he surprisingly got his hand size down pretty low. And I think that's really what helped to my advantage there. He had like 2 or 3 cards towards the end of the game. And then eventually he got down to no cards. And he may have messed up here or there, but I think either way, it was a tough matchup having those Sabos out there. I wasn't sure a few times when I got down to where he had 9,000 power, I'm like, okay, should I play a card here? Or do I just throw, you know, like 4 Dawn on my leader or 5 Dawn on my leader and 4 or 5 Dawn on one of my characters and swing twice, just doing a little bit of damage? So I wound up doing some formula of that and eventually cleared the blockers, got his life down, got his hand size down. So at the end, I don't think, I probably could have done a lot of different things and it still would have wound up winning with because he was pretty starved for cards at that point in time. So he had no cards in hand. He had a Sabo blocker out there and 2 life up. So I just swung like 5, 6 every time and ultimately cleared board there because he has those face-up life cards. Those get, you know, thrown under the deck anyway, so it's not something he can pull in hand even. So at that point, wound up winning that one. I was a little worried a few times in that matchup because I've, as I said, been on that final table before undefeated and lost and not gotten a winner card. So I didn't want to put my fate in the hands of the uncertainty and ultimately beat the Black Yellow Luffy to go undefeated and go 4-0. And as I said, win a winner card for once, which is awesome to see. So as a recap, faced Bonnie, faced Dofi, faced Boa, and faced Black Yellow Luffy. So pretty diverse group of leaders I had to battle today, and just, yeah, I had a great experience doing it, and thankfully wound up getting a winner card with this one. Actually, my opponent wound up getting the second winner card, so I'm not sure if I would have gotten one even if I lost. I've lost before and not gotten one, so I didn't want to risk it, so wound up going for it on grabbing this guy. Let's open him up. I wanted to do this on camera. I thought about doing a short, but I figured for me personally, I was super pumped to get my first tournament win, so wanted to make sure this was an actual video describing kind of the events that took place. So we'd love to see your feedback on tournament experiences you've had below or any tight wins you may have had in getting to the end point in the game. So let's just open this guy up and see what we get. My opponent got the winner Chopper card. I think I would want that because I play the Chopper deck with Zoro. So I'm not sure necessarily what I really need from this. I'm just pumped to get a winner card and probably hold on to this because it's my first win, and we'll see if I want to get any more in the future, but it's my only at this point in time. So let's take a look and see what we get. All right, it looks like it's not the Chopper. It looked a little purple. I don't think I want, like, I think there's an Eggman one. I don't really need that. Okay, it looks to be the Ace. Not something I need to play with, but I'm probably just gonna keep the winner cards in my cards at home anyway. So just to share, you can obviously tell kind of what the art looks like. So it's the 5 cost, 6k power, 1k counter, blocker, on play, draw 2, and place 2 from your hand at the top or bottom of your deck. So it's the typical blue cycling situation and a blocker as well. This has been a card that's used, I think these are all part of the packs that you get when you play in tournaments. I've shown a short where I pulled this same ability on a card, just an alternate art showing the winner thing there as well too. So awesome to have that experience finally. Let me just win one time, and from there I'm gonna be more casual with playing and be fine if I don't win as often. So finally got that under our belts. As I mentioned before, share any experiences you've had with One Piece tournaments, whether it's casual or actually official like tournaments. And I would love to see just your stories of how those have gone. As I mentioned, I've gotten close quite a few times, but one thing here and there led to me not ultimately winning. So super pumped to finally get this win. And yeah, got the Ace Winner card. And Zoro is viable for folks that have any questions. Maybe not like Lucci or Dofi or even Black Yellow Luffy quality of consistent wins, but it was effective for us and we ultimately came home the winner today. So thank you guys so much for watching and I hope to talk to you again soon.